Hello, my name is Alex Olzak, and today we'll be looking at some different forms of practice, comparing the constant practice to a variable practice in the task of a soccer dribble. Now in soccer, there's many variations of a play and in extremely variable situations depending on what the opponent is doing, what you're trying to do with the ball. So there's many different forms of dribbling, especially when trying to manipulate the ball to do whatever you want. Now we'll be looking at some different types of dribble. First, we'll be looking at the inside of the foot with just our dominant foot, which for me will be the right foot. We'll be looking at the outside of the foot with just the right foot. And then we'll be looking at a combination of using the right and left foot. And lastly, we'll be using a rollover technique using the dominant foot. And we'll look at some different types of practices that might be used by some coaches to help teach these dribbling techniques. First, we have just the inside of the foot. It's one of the most basic forms of dribbling in soccer. As you can see that they're only using the inside, the sole of the foot, and even using it to turn on some practices. Now for a constant practice, this would be the only variation that we would use for the entire practice. We would do this repetitively and just keep doing the single motion, not really getting into any of the other techniques. Now we can see a variation of the dribble where we use the outside of the foot with just the dominant foot, which again, this is the right foot. Now this is a technique that you wouldn't really get into when just doing a constant practice, and it would require a variable practice. Now you can see a progression where we use both feet for inside of the foot. Now progressing, now we can see the combination of the inside and outside of the dominant foot, using it to really control the ball on both sides in different spaces of the field. And lastly, now we can see a step over technique where we roll our foot over the ball. Now this is done in fast motion here as demonstrated. But now we'll begin to slow it down a little just to show you the motion. Now this is again done with the dominant foot. As you can see for this motor skill, there are many different types of variations, even beyond the ones demonstrated. And it's very important, especially in soccer, to have a mastery of all these different variations because dribbling is one of the most basic, fundamental practices of soccer. And it's really important to be able to do that in different forms because in a game, you don't get to just ever use one form of dribbling. You're constantly switching, changing in between, trying to manipulate the ball to do whatever you want, depending on what the defenders are doing. And in a constant practice, you would only really practice one variation of that form repetitively. And in a variable practice, especially in that form, you would begin to practice all those different types, whether it be the inside of the foot, the outside of the foot, incorporating both feet, rollovers. Now, for a block practice, what you would see in that would be you would do each variation a certain set of times. So with those 4 examples, especially for a soccer field, you might have them go from baseline 20 yards out, turn, come back, wait in line, do that again, and then you just have them do each one of those variations 15 times, then switch to the different variation. Repeat that with the next variation, break, and then do the next variation again. Where in a serial model, you might have them do the same 20-yard distance, but instead you might have them only do, say, 5 times with the inside of the foot, another 5 times with the outside of the foot, 5 times using both feet, 5 times using the rollover technique, then break, and then have them do that again for 3 sets. Another technique that is often used is random order, where you would just call out one different variation and then have your performers do that variation of the skill, stop, call out a new one, just completing this in a random order. Now, why would you want to use variable practice over constant practice? Now, using a variable practice, like I said before, really allows to fully develop the whole task of dribbling. It allows the developers to create a cognitive schema and of the generalized motor program, and allows learners to explore and discover the particular motor landscape that dribbling really has together, and allows them to really build that skill, because like I said before, you're not ever going to really be doing one form of dribbling. It's very variable. The game is always changing, and you always have to be ready for any situation. Well, thank you for listening, and have a great day.